It is 3 days to go before the strike deadline, and Governor Cuomo called both sides to his Midtown office for what many called the final stage talks. So let's listen in to the strike being averted on the LIRR.
Okay,
Governor
sound
Cuomo.
system works? Yes. We'll go with yes. I heard a yes. Thank you all very much. Thank you for coming on such short notice. It's my pleasure to announce today that we have settled a 4-year dispute dealing with the Long Island Railroad labor unions and an agreement with the railroad and the MTA. This is a compromise by both parties after 4 long years. Compromise by definition means that neither side gets everything that they wanted to get, but it means that we reach an agreement and we can move forward. The Long Island Railroad workers are valued employees of the railroad. They work dangerous jobs in many places, and they are valued employees, and we respect them and we respect the service. And we want to be fair as New Yorkers to the employees. At the same time, the MTA is a public entity. The funds that the MTA has come from the fare riders and from the taxpayers. And obviously, the economy of the MTA is very important to us. We want to make sure that the fares don't go up. We want to make sure that the MTA has the funds necessary to do the capital repairs that they need to do to keep the system safe. And that was the balance. We wanted fair compensation for valued employees, and we wanted to make sure that the MTA didn't need to raise fares and had the funds necessary to manage the system long term, and I believe that we did that. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the MTA chairman, Tom Prendergast, who I think showed outstanding leadership in this situation, which was difficult and complex. That's why it went on for 4 years. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Anthony Simon from the United Transportation Union and his colleagues in the labor movement, who I believe were fair and reasonable. Anthony, on a personal note, is a tenacious advocate. He's aggressive. I respect that. But at the end of the day, he was not reckless and he was not irresponsible. And I think it's fair to say that all of the labor representatives fought diligently for the best contract they could get for their employees, but they were also very aware of the responsibility of the LIRR. The Long Island Railroad in many ways is unique. Long Island, by its configuration, doesn't allow many options for commuters. And if the LIRR goes down, all of Long Island suffers to the tune of tens of millions of dollars per day, not to mention the personal hardship, not to mention the safety concerns that it would have occurred if we actually had a strike. So I congratulate both these gentlemen personally. I congratulate all the representatives of the unions, who I believe, again, represented their constituents well, but also fairly recognizing the responsibility of the LIRR. With that, I'll turn it over to Chairman Tom Prendergast for his comments.
Echoing what the governor has said, the agreement reached today provides a fair and reasonable contract. Wages that our employees deserve, hardworking employees that need to be able to stay where they need to be financially, and in a way that protects the commuter as well as the long-term fiscal stability of the MTA, which is exceptionally important to us. He asked Anthony and I and the other labor leaders sitting here today to keep our mind on what is most important, the needs of the customer and meeting our own individual responsibilities. In order to do that, it required a compromise on the part of all parties, because you may not be able to achieve exactly what you want, but in the spirit of getting to a deal that's fair and reasonable, takes care of the needs of the employees, protects the commuters, and MTA's long-term financial stability, that is what's required, and that's what we were able to accomplish.
Thank you. With that, I'll turn it over to Anthony Simon from the United Transportation Union.
Thank you, Governor. First, let me say a special thanks to Governor Cuomo for stepping up, and at a time when we really needed a leader to step up and get involved in the negotiations, a no-nonsense leader who knew what it took to get this deal done as well as Mr. Prendergast here. This was about the riders. This was definitely about the riders. The labor leaders here today have said that. I could not have done it without these great leaders that we work side by side with. We cared about the riding public. We cared about the financial stability of the railroad, as well as our members and their financial stability. This definitely is a fair contract. It's a compromise by all parties to make sure that we continue down the road of a safe and reliable system. And we will continue to do that until we leave this agency. Every one of us in this room always believed that we can get to a deal and protect the riding public. It was a long road, it was a tough road. But again, thank you to the great leadership of Governor Cuomo and the membership that we have behind us. We were able to come to an agreement that is definitely a ratifiable, fair agreement.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Questions, comments?
Doctor, what changed since Monday when Tom described there being a wide gulf between the two sides, and Anthony said that they were at total impasse? So where was the compromise for? Where in the contract?
Time and reasonableness and many hours of discussion and flexibility by both Mr. Simon and Mr. Prendergast. And when I say Mr. Simon, I also mean the other 7 unions that were part of this agreement. There's no doubt there was a very wide gulf that had to be crossed, and the good news is they did, and that's what we congratulate both of them for. Basically, the terms of the agreement, to simplify it somewhat, is the Presidential Emergency Board had voted twice for a certain set of wages and benefits for the current employees. The settlement is based on those PEB decisions. The question then became, how do you pay for it, right? As Mr. Simon said, as Mr. Prendergast said, we wanted to make sure the fares didn't go up, and we want to make sure that the system has the money to operate. So how do you pay for those additional wages, benefits, et cetera? And there are health care savings that all employees will contribute to. And for new hires, there are wage progression and a pension plan and health care savings. And those savings will allow the MTA to pay for the PEB settlement. That's it, basically, in a nutshell. Is that a fair statement, gentlemen?
It's a fair statement.
So what was the last sentence that either side gave in?
You know, it doesn't happen that way, really. It sort of all happens at once, or it doesn't. There's no one term I've found. There are a number of open issues, and then when and if you're willing to reach an agreement, then you sort of trade off a number of items. And that's what happened here. You had wage progression issues, you had pension cost issues, health care issues, and PEB recommendations for the current employees. So it was sort of all or nothing, right? When you're willing to reach an agreement, then you trade off the individual items, and that's what happened here. Do we want to go through that?
Well, the increase in salary is 17%. The other issues, we're going to have to reduce the terms. The labor groups have to be able to explain them to the employees, and it's very important that we get that clear because these contracts have to be ratified.
The PEB recommendation was 17% for the current employees. The question became, how do you pay for it without raising fares and without jeopardizing the capital plan for the MTA? That's where savings had to be identified, and they were primarily identified in the areas of health care costs for all employees and then for new employees, wage progression, pension cost, and health costs.
How long is the contract for?
Hopefully for a long, long time, because I don't want to do this again. How long is it for?
6.5 years.
6.5 years.
This deal puts no additional pressure on the fares. Our financial plan, we've been very clear that what we're committing to, and it hasn't changed for the last 3 reports, and that's that we're keeping fare increases to the cost of the rate of inflation. This deal puts no additional pressure on the fares.
So will new employees be paying more towards their health care and energy costs than current employees? And will there be a 10-year wage progression for new employees?
At this time, we're going to have to defer to make sure that our ratification and our members can be notified and that we can explain it to our members before it goes out to the public. We want to be able to ratify the deal. There has been some changes to new employees while current employees have maintained. So we will hold off on that until the ratification and before we get into the details.
Dr. Cuomo, could you tell us what the message is to Long Island communities that suffered through a lot of argument over the last couple of weeks, whether or not they were going to have their
Marcia Kramer, did you use the word agita, Marcia Kramer? Do you really know what agita means, Marcia Kramer? You just there was a high degree of agita over the past few days. For those of you who know what agita is, it's sort of like tsurus, the Italians would say. The good news is there could have been a lot more agita next week. Next week, if there was a strike, it would have been a really problematic situation on the highest level. So this is very good news. But at this time, I'm going to ask the gentleman before me to sign the agreement. Not that I don't trust their handshake, but it's always good to have a signature after what we went through. And I'll ask Mr. Prendergast first. And I am signing, but only as a witness that they signed. Congratulations, gentlemen. Well done.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Governor,
Any other questions?
from your role in this has evolved.
You've been watching a news conference on the tentative deal reached to avert a strike on the Long Island Railroad, and this concludes our coverage. I'm Mary Calvi.
And nothing is official until you get it in writing and everything has been signed. Strike averted. I'm Chris Raggi.
This has been a special report from CBS 2 and WLNY.